Greetings, brothers and sisters, coming to you from St. Lucifer, Miss Urea, Maria Orsic, the goddess. Heil, Heil. And again, we'll start tonight with a reading, the introduction to, in our opinion, the greatest work of art that has ever existed, Miguel Serrano's Nos, the Book of Resurrection. And Heil, Alwyn, Irene Klatt Serrano. Nos, the Book of Resurrection Introduction. This work has all the defects that are needed to defeat time. Truly, I was forced to write it in this way, in accordance with prescribed limitations, but I have been permitted to reveal the martial initiation of Amor. The whole of my creative work falls outside the boundaries of any literary theme. It is neither a poem, nor a novel, nor an essay of philosophy. Rather, it has a little of each of these. I conceived it within the rhythmic union of the soul, and it can be comprehended with little more difficulty than which is inherent in its symbology and essential obscurity, even by those who come upon it for the first time. In Nos, Book of the Resurrection, I have been forced, as I have said, to violate the aesthetic method, so as to introduce semi-conceptual but always symbolic passages which apparently break through the web of a parallel world in order to place ourselves in another one, thus forming the arrows which assassinate time. Of course, there are defects which are necessary for a grandiose, ultimate diapason. It's a word I don't really know. Diapason. This face does not have enough defects in it to truly be beautiful. El Ella, Book of Magic Love, the work which preceded this one, sought for the reintegration of he and she, the recomposition of the primordial cosmic egg. However, in the initiation of Amor, which Nos, Book of the Resurrection, attempts to reveal with great fear and difficulty, I am going beyond the androgynous of beginnings in search of an absolute separation, the absolute personality. I imagine that the final solution is a leap into the void over the Sahasrara chakra from atop Mount Meru, where the magic wedding of Shiva and Parvati took place. Their union in sacred matrimony is called Gandhabara. Gandharba. From there, the intention is to reach Sanya, the seeming void, the non-existent flower, the definitive separation of tantric ecstasy. Kevalaya, as opposed to the Vedic Samasati. That is to say, the magician as opposed to the saint. the ultimate aim of the Hyperborean initiation of Amor. Yes, give thanks, give thanks. Hail Miguel Serrano. Remember, recover, and return, and chant Mother's mantra. Right? See the man, the crushed up man with the crushed up Karis packet in his hand. Singing F-U's all, F-U's all, F-U's all. And that is, it was one of our songs tonight by Mr. Shane McGowan. And that's our people speaking to the Palantir techno slave masters. I know we're a little ahead of most other people's reality, but now we see it coming into focus as they surround Iran to murder, to use force and fraud against innocent people. One of the big principles of America was liberty, which is personal, and the principle extended out to other nations, peoples, religions, everything, all people, to say that as a country, we would never use our power to take away individuals' liberty, since that was the key to the founding fathers' philosophy, that liberty will keep the individual free, and freedom altogether would keep the country free from mainly foreign entanglements, mostly financial entanglements. But not only financial, but also war. War. And the whole purpose and meaning. What could really be the meaning? They always want us to believe that it's just money, so that they can blame or shift the blame at least to the upper class, who are actually working, most of them. Most of them do work and don't practice magic, right? Or if they do, it's the secondary to their career, right? These people take orders from the like ascended masters of the matrix. They're not ascended masters in a parallel world, in a domed future city in another star system, even, but still circular orbits the sun. The sun is not a star. I hope we know that by now. And the ascended masters of our enemies are people from the late 1700s and 1800s And perhaps they were once in touch with the Aldebaran gods because humanity was shifting into industrial machines, and everyone knew a huge economic change was coming and profits were to be made on, a global level. But mainly the struggle was because they knew that radio and TV, which had just been invented, and mostly movies, long stories, would be the keys to controlling the world, the masses in the future. So the fight was who would be in control of the content, who would be the content creator for the radio, TV, and movies. And we see that the internet still is coming under the same ownership that the uh, you know newspapers, three major TV channels, and all the. I mean, it's not that big of a huge conspiracy when you see that not that much had to be controlled because literally no one could afford to build a TV station. No one could, from the beginning, at least what we know of Mandela effect history. Um, people don't like broad sweeping statements, but their vibration. And like I seen a kid, I would call him a kid, probably in his 20s, on with a YouTube channel. I clicked on it because it was titled "Everything Is a Lie," and you know I've told this story many many times, but I've never concentrated on this part. I've always concentrated on the World War II part. But the conversation went like this with the little blonde lady who's here right now. Hail to her name, hail to Big Lou, whom I love more than anybody loves anyone else. And that night, I had drank 5 grams of mushrooms. And the first thing that happened, and I was, really excited to see the Missouri River Goddess. I didn't know she was Maria at the time. And it's like I was floating away and it just clicked. And it was like I instantly fell asleep and started dreaming, even though I was completely conscious and more awake than I've ever been. It's like I fell asleep and was dreaming. I didn't, literally. And Maria, she was dressed very, I guess, I mean, she's here now. She's saying it was for the dramatic effect, it was for the fact. But I want to describe it properly. It was mostly white and gold and with like purple tints to it, but it was like a sort of like a coat, but not a coat, but like a overcoat that went all the way down to the ground. It was really long and it was long sleeves. And she had like a little tight white dress on underneath this like jacket that went all the way to the ground. And she said, "Don't forget my heels." I was wearing my heels, my silver clear heels. And she's here, and she said, what did I start with? Glad you could make it." Because it was a big, it was a joke, but it was very serious. I mean, anything that me and her are totally serious about, we have to joke about also because it's funny to be so serious. But she knows how I feel, so she allows herself to feel what I feel and knows that it's very serious to me. But overall, it's not that serious, everyone. The moment you die, like people are suffering horrible, horrific, horrible things, but it's only for a time. And I've been told by the God of this world, Lou, who's here now, that they are so properly rewarded, and there's nothing that he can directly do to restrain evil, or it won't be fully manifest. They have to have the opportunity to end the world. And I mean, imagine, I'm just quickly, imagine how scary it is to know that most of your neighbors have had their houses collapsed on top of them and killed all their children. I mean, you talk about horrific ways to die. Okay. Um, that's these people. That's the essence of them is like a horror movie. And this is the whole point behind the Bible, God, Satan being a trick to see who would fully believe it and act on it to the to the conclusion, the logical conclusion, like First Samuel, whatever it was, 15. Go into that village and kill their children, even the babes suckling at the breast, even their animals. Right? Here comes straight to your face the greatest test ever. God said that? God said, kill somebody's baby. You're against abortion because it's killing babies. You don't see the polarity switch there? You don't see the opposites there? That you care about babies, yet you obey a God that put in writing, I said kill their babies. And we must go one step further and say, this is a fictional book, right? This is a fictional book. Let me say that again. This is not real history because real history is full of people murdering, killing, babies, even. Look at your Christian church first for genocide. Um, so your polar opposites are, I feel the pain of babies in their mother's womb with, I worship a God who said, if they're not saved, if they're not of us, kill the baby. This is called polarity magic. And this is, and what that means is they have taken what is in the masses unconscious, which is basically to do right and be and do as unto others as you would have them do to you, right? They've replaced that with you obey me. When I say kill the babies, you kill the babies. When I say don't kill the babies, you don't kill the babies, right? See, everything's so corrupted. Because, like Maria said, I wish we could, use the word master more. Master Serrano. But it it's it's a great description of a what like more than a teacher. You know what I mean? He's not just a teacher, he's a master. And uh but we live in a master slave situation. And it doesn't matter if there's whips hitting you. It's a psychological whip that says if you don't pay your mortgage, you won't have anywhere to live. If you don't have a car and have this, you're a loser and you'll be on the streets. And all you really have is enough energy to keep working and maintain the material things you have. The bigger the house, the more time it's going to take from you. The fancier the car, the more you're going to think about it, the more you have to pay attention to it. The more cars, the more time. And the, back to the reality that Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley were not tapping into Lou. Maybe a robotic Frankenstein that they were calling Lucifer. But this is Maria, where their information was actually coming from was late 17th century, from the 1770s or so on. She said, I don't even want to say the names of these awful, degenerate, horrid human beings. But this was all a plan by the Kabbalist. And the entire Kabbalah was basically rewritten, rethemed for British Israelitism and the fulfillment of one of these late 1700s, 18th century Kabbalists that at the right time they would teach the Gentiles some of the secrets of magic so that they could use this energy. They knew, for one thing, they knew the Bible was cooked, the Bible was done, right? So they had to think up a whole new plan for it, right? The plan was to use the entire thing as chaos, right? And so the roaring 20s in America were roaring because it was the introduction of Gentile magic or Kabbalistic magic to America. And I mean, the Roaring Twenties was America doing what they want. Like she said, this is in the human being, in your nature, to want to alter reality, have fun, listen to loud music, and the the previous age was to use fear and to use the Bible as a like um, you know rod of iron to hit you with if you dare had any fun. Uh, so when they introduce Kabbalistic magic of saying, you are, I mean, it's all convoluted in the public, but they say you are God because you're a piece of God. I mean, we don't say this, but basically, they were teaching sort of a form of what we teach, that you're God over yourself, and that's the only real God over you. And that God doesn't exist, but the gods exist. And, there's a sort of claim, and I'm no expert on Kabbalah. I get my information mostly about it from Maria. Um, but, I am familiar with what some of it says. But it's like convoluted, whether they're actually talking about God is a being or God is the undescribable, indescribable, beyond everything thing that some people have experienced. And like Maria said, this is the very line, the very edge of the most dangerous deception ever. And listen, this is it. Like she said, this is how you keep yourself from deception. Anyone that claims that they personally have a revelation, a description, a word from what is beyond is a liar, and you're being deceived. Anyone that comes in the context, pretense, of God, that they're from God, that they believe in God, is coming, whether they know it or not, in the pretext of deception. They're saying to you on one level or another, I'm Moses. I've been to the mountain. I have a special thing. I'm chosen. You're not. And you need to listen to me because I know the thing that's beyond class. That information is a contradiction. I know what's beyond. I know no, you don't. That's why it's beyond. And then, like she said, then come the magic words, that this person's art to deceive has been designed. I mean, just think about in the Bible. Moses came down from the mount with the tablets, the Ten Commandments. I think it was like almost half the people were like, fuck you, you're full of shit. So half the very people that were there were like, now you're telling us that you're talking to the thing that created everything, and none of us have access to it, only you do. Half the people in this fictional story, why was this point made? That half the people were like, we don't fucking believe you. You're fucking lying. You're trying to control us. And the next thing that Moses was saying is, you know what? We need priesthood, and we need to collect 10% of everything that people make. Money, money, money. So the hierarchy, the ascended masters of the process church, are completely unknown. You know, Blavatsky, Crowley, Manly P. Hall, the like commercial spokesman of these people, but these were people who died on the first time Earth in a real reality. They died in they were born from like 1770, right around the founding of America. Like Maria said, people don't even know. There was like a war between the Kabbalist, the Jewish Kabbalist, and the live and let live Aryan Europeans. Aryan comes from India, but they had, so the Kabbalist of the late 18th century. See, the what Crowley was impressing the secret societies with when he um, went to them to be initiated. Because he was totally rich, it basically could, buy his way into an opportunity at least. And what they tell these stories that he knew some of the secrets before they initiated him. Lou's here. He's like, I know the exact story, and you're telling it, Joe. Um, how he impressed these orders, not just to initiate him, but um, make him the head of some of them very suspiciously quickly, was that he was in contact with these late 18th century Kabbalists, and that they could instruct him in real time in these rituals, and that they could put them and others under him in contact with basically ghosts. We would kind of Bible would call demons, but they're ghosts. They're people who died who are still here, and they're like middlemen, and they do it for a reward. It's like a job. They like doing it. Um, it can put you in contact with real people who can do, real things in the real world. Um, so there's like a trinity of these Kabbalists, and this is, on their higher levels, this is what they start introducing the initiate, like the real Golden Dawn, the real OTO. And, good or bad, these societies existed until basically until the internet, and contained all this knowledge. And really, the reason why uh, the West was built on the Bible is they burned in all of our ancestors' writings. I seen a video of someone asking like Chat GPT, like, of the pagan ancestors before Christianity, the literature of pagan writers before the Catholic Church censored them, how much was destroyed, right? They went through a series of questions. And the AI came to a conclusion that 98% of everything that was written before the Christians took over Europe was destroyed by the Christians. 98%. Let me tell you, look over Gaza. What's it look like on a physical level? Like 98% of everything's destroyed. So, what am I trying to say? Everything is a lie. I mean, even chat, GPT, or whatever. I don't even know what it fucking is. um, I know the essence of the technology. It's basically giving you, in a way, a answer that fits the collective unconscious of the whole world. Like it will never straight up lie, but it will never go beneath the surface, right? So you, so Maria dressed in this beautiful white jacket, white dress, and her silver heels, smoking a cigarette that she rolled herself in a cigarette holder, and she was holding it up with her left hand like a movie star, like walking around, like goofing. And she was like, "Good to see you." So because her whole thing was, "Listen, buddy, you gonna be here next week?" I want people to get this. This was a fucking serious ass thing. So she was joking, like, "Glad you could make it." You know, like I said, she's here right now. She said, "Do you remember?" I said, "I dressed for the occasion." And I said, "Why? Why? What's that mean?" And she's here. She said, "I joked with you for a little while. If you want to really remember." And it was like we were just having a fun conversation. She was like, this is Maria. Maria is my witness. This is exactly how it came up. She's like, when I say you're my son and I'm your real mother, what I mean, she's like, I don't mean that I spy on you, but what I mean is I've always loved you like my son, and I would check on you. I would go into my meditation, leave my body, and instantly show up in the holographic matrix, kind of like a ghost. You couldn't see me, but I could see you. And I would keep my distance, but I would listen to you, watch you, all through your life before you met me. And she was like, "Swear to the gods." I did. And she was like, "Let me ask you something." She's like, "When you, started having your awakening, I think I remember you saying everything is a lie." She's like, "Let me ask you, when you say everything, did you really mean everything? Everything?" And it like put me in like a different dimension, like knocked me backwards, and I thought, I definitely have said that. I told her from the beginning, I definitely have said everything's a lie. I said, I don't know if I've really thought on that level, like every single thing. And she said, I don't mean to be rude, but it seems that you believe everything is a lie except World War II. And this was, like I said, way in the beginning. Well, not way in the beginning, but, and I defended myself like, I don't believe the lie. I don't believe there was gas chambers. I don't believe 6 million died. And she's like, I didn't say that. I said, is everything a lie about She said, okay, let's get specific. Concerning World War II, is everything they say a lie? You know, they say shrinking heads with a magic machine, making soap out of people, making lampshades out of skin. You know, she's like, they said all that, and we know those are lies. Is everything a lie? And I want you to know she was talking about 98% of everything our ancestors wrote down before Christianity came to Europe has been completely, totally destroyed. 90. How do you? You should be ashamed. You should be embarrassed. We have no idea what our ancestors believed. It's only found on the astral plane or out of your body, or however you want to say it, in the spirit world, in the essence truth chamber. She's like, yeah, the real gas chamber is the chemtrails they're spraying every day for 20 something years now. And I'm telling you, people are like, oh, you're all about, you're saying the same thing as the rest of the doomers. And I don't care what anyone else says. I'm speaking for Maria Orsic. You're going to see in America, they're going to they're going to attack America with drones and say it was Muslims. They're going to turn off the internet. They're going to say we're under such internal terrorist attacks from lefties and Hamas in America that we had to turn off the internet and let us prophesy, in quotes. Let us prophesy. The stores will be empty in a day, and you will start to mail order food. You will have no way to contact the all the stuff you were ordering on the internet. It will be impossible to order it. It will be impossible to use any of your apps. It will be impossible to get online. It will be completely turned off. And after 2 weeks, America will be devastated. After 3 months, it will be full out civil war because everything's repeating and everything's already happened. That's why they know these cyber patterns, these cyber returning, spiking ratios. I mean, it's just a game of numbers. They know if they suggest to your mind a certain amount of times, they know that most people's mind breaks and starts to say, okay, God exists. If you say so. God, if you're going to fucking hate me for saying that, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll never forget, man. I believe this is in the movie Jesus Camp. People should check that out. But I believe this is in the movie. And it's like, 9 and 10-year-olds at like a summer camp, Jesus camp. And they're super pressuring them to get up in front of everybody and speak in a microphone and tell how they got saved. And Jesus saved me, and I went forward and I prayed this and that. And there's one kid who's like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm saved. And they take him aside. He's the most authentic, honest kid there. Who's like, he's like, I don't think these people are playing along. If these people have had a real experience, the other kids, I haven't. See at like 8, 9 years old, 10 years old. I already knew. Play along, or they will fucking say you're crazy. My eye opening experience was in the counselor's office in second grade. And they were like, "Has anything else strange happened to you?" And I was fucking 7 years old. I was literally 7 years old. And I was like, well, I was woken up in the night and there was a UFO in my backyard and it was a lady talking to me, and I thought it was all in a sort of positive realm of like, I'm giving, I'm telling, finally here's somebody that cares about this information. I'm thinking as a kid because, I made a video about this, some of my first videos, but the reason why it got to, just real quick, the reason why I blurted that out is there was like an investigation into the like 65-year-old teacher choking one of the second grade students. And I was a witness. I was standing right there when it happened. So they were, the kids' parents were pissed. And they were like, "We're gonna fucking sue you, we didn't say you can choke our fucking kid. He's scared. He don't wanna go to school no more," you know? And, so they took us individually, like, into the office and asked us what we seen, and I told them exactly what I seen. I said, "I don't know how this is." I said, "It's like a shadow. It's like smoke. It's like there, but it's not, but I can see it." And I was like, "It's like this man, and he's right next to her." I said, "This happens in the class." Well, first I told him, "Okay, what happened is she came in the bathroom because we were all laughing because one of the kids was doing something funny. He was like standing on the toilet seat, acting like he was pooping, or I don't know. I can't even remember. But we were all laughing. That's why she ran in the bathroom because we were laughing and she was going, "Come out, come out." And he was going, "I'm pooping. And so she comes in the bathroom and he's saying to us, "Don't go out there, don't go out there. The old hag will get you. She'll get you." And so it was like three of us, kind of standing there watching this kid do this. And he's going like, "Don't leave me." So she comes in and she's screaming, "What are you doing? I can't even remember, like, you're bad, whatever." And she just grabs the first kid closest to her. And it actually made me jump back because I was right next to him. And she was, she grabbed him by the throat. And I just seen like you would see if you're, tripping hard, like a trail behind her, like a energy. Like she was moving fast and she was like hysterical. She was like way dramatically over mad that we were just in the bathroom too long. She was like violently insane. And I could see the like shadow man right in her, like making her do the shit that she was doing. Like not just standing by her now, but it was like on her, in her. And I told, I told the principal this. And I remember it was three, the principal and two women. And I remember them looking at each other like, "What the fuck is this kid saying? What the fuck is this kid saying?" Like, "Oh, what the fuck are you saying?" Yeah. And dude, I can photographically remember how it was just like silent in the room and like no one said anything to me. Like, and finally, my counselor, who was like a 25-year-old, recently graduated college student, just like grabbed my hand. She's like, "That's fine. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for telling us. Thank you for telling us what you've seen." And that's when the principal asked me, "Well, have you ever seen any other strange things or other odd?" I can't remember how he worded it. And I'm just like, "Yeah, there was people talk about UFOs. There was one in my backyard." You can just imagine the teachers and shit being like, "What the fuck is up with this kid?" It's crazy. But I think that's when I came online with you know, well, it was before that, but even still, that it really rang why I was being targeted as a child. Like Maria says, no one will really know the story till we get home. Like how I had to protect you from, I mean, I was literally almost kidnapped, and my mom and the police barely believed me. It's like they believed me, but they didn't believe me, you know, because the people I ran to their house and ran to them and started yelling, like the dude stopped chasing me right as they seen me. Right when they seen. So when the police asked them, "Did you see the guy chasing him?" They were like, "Yeah, we seen him. His car was parked across the street. It was pretty far away." I mean, I was hauling ass as a little kid, ran across a very busy street. It really was. It was a busy street. I ran across it through this like vacant field to these like row houses, and like two or three dudes were like sitting out on the porch. And I started yelling, "Help, help, help." And like soon as they see me, the dude stopped and just sprinted back to his car. And that's what they told him. They told him, like, yeah, there was a dude chasing him. He ran back to his car and left really quick. And I know they thought it was like my dad or something. They were like, "Oh, you're divorced." It was probably his father or his father's family or trying to talk to him. But what's crazy is I tried to describe the dude as a child, but I can see his face now, and such a like a young dude, seriously looked like a 70s porn star. Like real, groomed up, fucking mustache, like a 70s porn mustache, like very fashionable clothes for like 1975, 1974. You know what I mean? He didn't look at all like a pedophile kidnapper. He was like a 25-year-old, like fashionable, good looking, kind of hippie looking dude. And this is absolutely the truth. Like, and this is how bold this person was. After, I think this was after, I really believe this was after he tried to get me and I ran to the frat house. I was in the department store with my mother, and she would let me go off and look at the toys and shit by myself. I was just looking at shit. Actually, I was walking. I was walking. As soon as I split off from my mom, I told my mom, "I'll be over there, um, looking at this stuff. Come get me when you're done." And she's like, "Don't leave. Stay over there." As soon as I like branched off from her, I looked and he was following me. He was walking behind me and I almost screamed like I couldn't see real well. He had sunglasses on inside the store and I like looked back and was like, "Holy fuck, is that my heart started like racing." I was like, "Is that the dude that tried to kidnap me?" And so I veered off and ran down this aisle, ran to where I thought my mom was going, and I found her, and I told her, I was like, I've this guy was following me, and she got kind of freaked out. She said something to the people at the store. She like took me to like people from the store and was like, someone was harassing my son, looking at him, and it was all real. And everything's a lie. See, people are targeted individuals. The obvious practical reason is the people doing this have information that we don't have. They have concrete algorithm information that we don't have, like your life being repeated over and over. And actually, they're entering sort of in your reality with magic. You have like your inner world inside of a technological computer program, and they're trying to get in to your inner world. And they're fascinated actually with it. You know what I mean? They're fascinated by us. So what is the reflective vibration that 98% of everything our ancestors wrote down has been destroyed? Does that practically, it should practically register in your mind? Everything's a lie. Because, okay, here is Maria's point. This is what I left off the conversation, right? With the little blonde goddess smoking her cigarette. She loves, loves, loves tobacco so much. Grandpa tobacco, she calls it. Papa bacco, Papa bacco. Um, she said, "You really believe that?" I had to think, and I said, "Yes, I really do." And she said, "Well, I'm glad you're coming around to see things as I see them, because it makes no sense that a people who tell these lies about World War II, it would be an incredible miracle that they told the truth for once." And she said, "Look at me. These people have never, ever told the truth with a good heart for the right reason, ever. They're sworn to lies so that the lies will manifest as Frankenstein realities." She said, "Is it not a reality?" She said, "I knew you when you were a child, Joseph. I'd come check on you." She said, "I remember you crying and telling your mother, like, why would they do that to people after seeing Schindler's List, right? Why would the Nazis do that to people? What did they do?" I was trying to see the justice in it. And she was like, "Joe, it's all been turned around. Literally over 100 nations declared war on three nations. Like she said, they literally put before us an annihilation order that we don't want peace. And she said, study it 8 times, 8 times, 8 times. Adolf Hitler said, we'll go back to Germany, to the old borders. Let's have peace. And they said, no, unconditional surrender. While they were losing, it's so America and British right now. They're losing millions of soldiers. And they're like, no, we don't want to end this war until all Germans are dead. And you think I'm exaggerating? Look up quotes of Winston Churchill. Don't use Google. They'll probably scrub them off the internet. But look up, quotes of Churchill saying, kill every German and every day we have to obliterate their culture. It was total genocide. The real truth. It was genocide, genocide on the poor, genocide for sure. And they just couldn't stop. They couldn't stop at Germany. She said, we say our honor is our loyalty. They say our honor is to human sacrifice to you. And like she said, we'll never understand. Like she said, we do understand the motivation behind this is fear. It's fear. We're in control of life and death. We have people so brainwashed that they'll volunteer for the United States military, which is human sacrifice. They'll volunteer to sacrifice people and be sacrificed. And the reason we see America making its move, like I was saying, the drone attacks are coming in America, where they will say there's so many drones being used against us inside America, we had to shut off the internet. And then every time they turn it on, it will happen again, and they'll say we have to turn it off. And the Bible calls us Edom or the faraway lands. And it says that the armies and firepower come from this faraway land. And it says in this end war, that the faraway lands are completely, totally destroyed, to never be inhabited ever again. What they're really talking about is the whole rest of the world. Like on a realistic level, they're talking about killing everyone. They really, seriously, these people are so like the people left on Earth right now in the Matrix who are doing a lot of this. They're so psycho crazy. They're convinced that it's like the greatest feat and it will be the greatest transition into death, that at some point, if they think they're going to lose, they'll kill everybody. And they know, like, they don't have to hit cities with nukes all over the world. All they have to do is cause a nuclear winter. All they have to cause is like global crop failure for 1 year will kill 3/4 of the entire planet. When there is absolutely, look at the Bible, there's no flour, there's no grain. And it says what? It says right in your 666 book of Revelation, preserve the oil, preserve the wine and oil. Okay? Isn't that Trump right now? It's our oil. It's all about oil. They're really trying to tell us, oh, it's not our hatred of everyone. It's not our hatred of the Gentiles and the Muslims and everyone that's around us. No, it's about oil. It's about money. That they're literally, it's crazy that there could be a religion so corrupt. They use the love of money as the cover, as the look over here for just straight out human sacrifice evil. Right in your Bible. Right in your Bible. If you read it in context, Yahweh says to Moses in the first Israelites, he says in Moses' law, you must dedicate your firstborn children, your firstborn child to complete destruction to me. You must sacrifice them to me, right? And check this out. He goes on. This is the whole reason of the Passover, right? And, that he killed the firstborn of all the Egyptians. And for 1 year, or I don't know how many, exactly they really practiced this, but for 1 year, they didn't have to kill their firstborn. So I would imagine that that means in that year, if your firstborn, and this is truly like chaos magic, um, that to bring each family this kind of horrid, it's like each family going through traumatic ritual abuse that you have to kill your firstborn in order to prosper. This is the whole thing that he killed. I mean, think about this, man. The whole thing with the Passover is all these Egyptian firstborn children had to die as an equal payment to each Israelite being set free to prosper. So the principle was, if you sacrifice your firstborn, I will set you free and make you prosper. I'll make you rich. I'll give you shit. I'll give you a good life. This is the goddamn essence of America. Let me tell you a personal. This is what comes to my mind. I was delivering a route in a like this was 20 years ago. So this was like $500,000 houses 20 years ago, which probably $2-3 million now. Million-dollar houses, giant houses, each one put on like at least an acre. They had lots of land, giant neighborhood connected to a golf course and all this. And I have a family move in, and one day I bring the I bring something to him to be signed, and I notice he's like in his early, like maybe late 20s, and his wife is like, you know, Eastern European, Russian, or something. And I notice all his, cars have like all his military stuff. And the neighbor, people started telling me, yeah, we wonder who this guy is. They said, we heard he bought the house with cash. Just, you know, straight up bought the house. He's like, he don't seem to work. This is what the neighbor told me. They don't seem to work. That they're just there all the time. And he literally had a sticker on his Jeep that said like Special Forces. So I'm like, right? right in front of our face. I mean, this guy just buys a $500,000 house. He's got all these cars and stuff, and his only thing was that he was in special forces. What, for 6 years or something? 4 or 5 years? Yeah. How's that equal millionaire? Huh? I'm telling you, man. Okay, why did I say that? I'm saying that to tell you that he went to kill people, probably for contractors. That's what I would say. The special forces guy was probably hired out as a contractor in Iraq or something to murder people, and they gave him millions of dollars to do it. What I'm trying to say is there's a deal being made. Not only horrible people make deals, we make promises, we make vows, we make, you know, anyway, um, a certain God will make a deal. Here's the deal: if you will participate in human sacrifice, I will make you prosper. That's exactly what the Bible says. And, in real life, here's a special forces contractor killer. And I didn't really know him because it's not that he was a jerk to me, but I knew his wife a little better. She would answer the door more. And, I mean, it's just pretty much, it's put out there like, if you will murder people for us and you're really good at it, we'll also make you rich. Because that's the God of human sacrifices deal, right? His deal is prosperity, money. And that's the hierarchy system in control. And they're manifesting their Crowleyanity, Book of Revelation, end times fulfillment of prophecy that was not a prophecy. It was always a script for who would be evil enough to step into it. Like the literal analysis of the book of Revelation shows that it's nothing, everything's a lie, nothing what they said it is, because when it was written, none of what he was prophesying came true, right? It's in the context of they're going to attack us, and then the Messiah's going to return and kill every single person that is opposing us and give us a kingdom. Literally, the Messiah is Aleister Crowley. Literally, 666 the beast, God is Satan. It's a whole skit, a whole show. It's the theater of Thelema. And philosophically, they're 100% right. God is Satan, according to the Bible. If you're a Bible believing Christian, you have to admit God is Satan. Why do you say that? He created Satan and gave him free will. The essence is in your words. He created Satan. It's impossible. It's not true. It's a fictional story. But if it was true, anything you create logically, practically, is you. If you stray from 2 plus 2 being 4, we can no longer reach you. We can no longer deal. We can no longer communicate. If the moment we say, okay, we're trying to communicate, 2 plus 2 is 4. And you say, well, it could be whatever you want. Okay, then, you're not one of our people. We're not going to waste any time. If we can't agree that nature doesn't contradict itself, if we're going to talk numbers, then 2 plus 2 is 4. If we're going to talk art, then let's talk art. But we haven't come here to waste time or be deceived, right? And beautiful, real brothers and sisters, we just speak the bliss of mother. May Maria bliss you.